Hello and welcome to Barbershop Books Story Time with Alvin Irby. That's me. Today's story is a really funny story. I think you're going to like it. It's called Sylvester and the Magic Pebble. Magic Pebble? Well, what in the world is a pebble? Well, it's like a little tiny rock. Sometimes they can be shiny, like a shiny pebble, or sometimes they can be dull and not very shiny. But let's take a look at the cover and see if we can figure out what might be going on in this story. Well, I see lots of different animals, like I see a donkey, I see another donkey, I see a pig, and I see some chickens. And so, you know what that makes me think about? I think this story is probably going to have different animal characters. Because some stories, they have people, and then other stories have animals as the characters. So, let's hop into our story for today. Sylvester and the Magic Pebble. Sylvester Duncan lived with his mother and father at Acorn Road in Oatsdale. One of his hobbies was collecting pebbles of unusual shape and color. Now, what does unusual shape and color mean? Well, it just means that they're interesting and that they look different. That's what unusual means. And so if you look, you can see Sylvester at the table with all his different pebbles. Is there anything that you like to collect? When I was little, I liked to collect basketball and football cards. And so they were little paper cards with different players on them. I even have, I think, some of them still around. But you can see Sylvester with his different pebbles, and you can see his mom and dad in the illustration. It's kind of funny to see a donkey that's reading the newspaper because animals can't really read anything. So that's kind of funny. Let's keep reading. On a rainy Saturday during vacation, he found a quite extraordinary one. It was flaming red, shiny, and perfectly round, like a marble. The reason why that's interesting is because pebbles, because they're rocks, they can be all different shapes and sizes, colors, and so for one to be perfectly round, that was really, really interesting. As he was studying this remarkable pebble, he began to shiver, probably from excitement, and the rain felt cold on his back. I wish it would stop raining, he said. To his great surprise, the rain stopped. It didn't stop gradually as rains usually do. Gradually just means that it slowly stops. It ceased. The drops Sylvester as he's in the rain, and then here's a picture of the rain suddenly stopping. Isn't that interesting? That he was holding this pebble, and then he just said, man, I wish it would stop raining, and then, whoa, suddenly it just stopped raining. I wonder if there's something interesting about this pebble. It struck him that magic must be at work and he guessed that the magic must be in the remarkable looking red pebble, where indeed it was. To make a test, he put the pebble on the ground and said, "I wish it would rain again." Nothing happened, but when he said the same thing, holding the pebble in his hoof, the sky turned black, there was lightning and a clap of thunder, and the rain came shooting down. Whoa! What would you do if you found a magic pebble? What would you wish for? Would you wish for a really big birthday cake? Would you wish for a race car, a toy race car? Would you wish for a video game or a new pair of shoes? There's so many different things you could do if you had a magic pebble. And look, here is Sylvester as he's testing out his theory about the pebble. What a lucky day this is, thought Sylvester. From now on, I can have anything I want. My father and mother can have anything they want. My relatives, my friends, and anybody at all can have everything anybody wants. How amazing is that? That this pebble is magic and it will allow him to pretty much get anything that he wishes for. He wished the sunshine back in the sky, and he wished a wart on his left hind foot would disappear, and it did. And he started home, eager to amaze his father and mother with his magic pebble. He could hardly wait to see their faces. Maybe they wouldn't even believe him at first. Would you believe someone if they told you they had a magic pebble that could grant any wish? Well, here he is. Here Sylvester is thinking about his magic pebble. And then here he is as he's heading home to show his parents. As he was crossing Strawberry Hill, thinking of some of the many things he could wish for, he was startled to see a mean, hungry lion looking right at him from behind some tall grass. He was frightened. Oh man, I don't think this is gonna go well. If he hadn't been so frightened, he could have made the lion disappear, or he could have wished himself safe at home with his father and mother. I wonder what he's going to do. Well, look, here's Sylvester and here's the lion. Man, I wonder what's going to happen. He could have wished the lion would turn into a butterfly or a daisy or a gnat. He could have wished many things, but he panicked and he couldn't think carefully. That does happen sometimes. If you get really nervous or you get really scared, you're so nervous that you stop thinking. The lion came bounding over, sniffed the rock 100 times, walked around it, and went away confused, perplexed, puzzled, and bewildered. Those are all words that means he was confused. The lion was really confused. I saw that little donkey as clear as day. Maybe I'm going crazy, he muttered. And here's the lion, confused because he just saw the donkey, but instantly he saw a rock instead. And it doesn't make sense because animals can't just turn into a rock, or at least they're not supposed to. And there was Sylvester, a rock on Strawberry Hill with the magic pebble lying right beside him on the ground. Uh-oh. And he was unable to pick it up. Oh, how I wish I were myself again, he thought, but nothing happened. He had to be touching the pebble to make the magic work. But there was nothing he could do about it. Oh no! Sylvester wished he would become a rock, but now he can't hold the magic pebble and turn himself back into a donkey. How is he going to become a donkey again? His thoughts began to race like mad. He was scared and worried. Being helpless, he felt hopeless. He imagined all the possibilities, and eventually he realized that his only chance of becoming himself again was for someone to find the red pebble and wish that the rock next to it would become a donkey. Someone would surely find the red pebble. It was so bright and shiny. But what on earth would make them wish that the rock was a donkey? I think he might be right. The chance was 1 in a billion at best. That means he didn't think it was ever really going to happen. Sylvester fell asleep. What else could he do? Night came with many stars. And look, here is where Sylvester, who's now a rock, is sleeping under the stars. Meanwhile, back at home, Mr. and Mrs. Duncan paced the floor, frantic with worry. Of course they're worrying because they haven't seen their son. Because now he's a rock. Oh man, Sylvester had never come home later than dinner time. Where could he be? They stayed up all night wondering what had happened, expecting that Sylvester would surely turn up by morning, but he didn't. Of course, Mrs. Duncan cried a lot, and Mr. Duncan did his best to soothe her. Both longed to have their dear son with them. So his parents are really sad because where is Sylvester? Nobody knows. I will never scold Sylvester again as long as I live, said Mrs. Duncan, no matter what he does. And you can tell his parents are really sad because they want to know where their son went. And look, you can even see that Mrs. Duncan is crying. Do you see the tear? They're looking out the window. Why do you think that Mr. and Mrs. Duncan are looking out of the window? I think that they're probably looking to try and find Sylvester. At dawn, they went about inquiring of all the neighbors. And inquiring just means they were asking them questions. And here they are. Here's Mr. and Mrs. Duncan asking everybody. Oh, their neighbors are animals because they're animals. So the pig right here is a neighbor, and the chickens are also neighbors. So they're probably asking them, have you seen Sylvester? Have you seen him anywhere? But I don't think anyone will have seen him because he's a rock. They talked to all the children, the puppies, the kittens, the colts, the piglets. No one had seen Sylvester since the day before yesterday. They went to the police. The police could not find their child. And look, here's Duncan, Mr. and Mrs. Duncan asking all the children. And remember, because they're animals, they're like puppies and kittens and different type of baby animals. So they're asking them if they have seen Sylvester. But no one had seen him. They even went to the police to ask the police if they had seen Sylvester. I hope someone finds Sylvester soon. All the dogs in Oatsdale went searching for him. They sniffed behind every rock and tree and blade of grass, into every nook and gully of the neighborhood and beyond, but found not a scent of him. They sniffed the rock on Strawberry Hill, but it smelled like a rock. It didn't smell like Sylvester. And look, here are all the dogs searching and sniffing for Sylvester. Why do you think that there are dogs looking everywhere? Well, because dogs have really, really powerful noses. They can smell scents far, far away, and they can track them down. After a month of searching the same places over and over, and inquiring of the same animals over and over again, Mr. and Mrs. Duncan no longer knew what to do. They concluded that something dreadful must have happened, and that they would probably never see their son again, though all the time he was less than a mile away. Why was he less than a mile away? Oh, because that's where the rock is. The rock is less than a mile away. For those of you who are just tuning in to Barbershop Books story time, today we're reading Sylvester and the Magic Pebble. This story is about a donkey who loved collecting unusual pebbles. Those are just tiny rocks. And one day, Sylvester found a magic pebble. And when he held it in his hoof, he could wish for anything and it would come true. But one day, well, the same day that he found the pebble, he saw a lion and it looked hungry. And he was so nervous that he wished that he would become a rock, and he did. But guess what? The pebble fell on the ground and now he can't turn back into a donkey. So everybody in the town has been looking for him, and his mom and dad are super, super sad. Look, here's his mom, and she's knitting and crying because she's sad because she doesn't know what happened to Sylvester. They tried their best to be happy, to go about their usual ways, but their usual ways included Sylvester, and they were always reminded of him. They were miserable. That means they were just really, really, really sad. Life had no meaning for them anymore. His mom is sad. His dad is sad. Everybody is sad. Night followed day, and day followed night, over and over again. That means that the days just kept going and going. Sylvester on the hill woke up less and less often. When he was awake, he was only hopeless and unhappy. He felt he would be a rock forever, and he tried to get used to it. He went into an endless sleep. The days grew colder. Fall came with leaves changing colors. Then the leaves fell and the grass bent to the ground. And so Sylvester went through all the different seasons as a rock. Fall, winter, spring, and summer. The days just kept passing. Do you think it would be boring or fun to be a rock? I think it would probably be pretty boring if you were a rock, because there would be nothing to do. Then it was winter. The winds blew this way and that. It snowed. Mostly the animals stayed indoors, living on the food they had stored up. And look, you can see all the snow. It's covering everything. One day a wolf sat on the rock that was Sylvester and howled because he was hungry. And look, here's the wolf that's sitting on the rock that is Sylvester. And he's howling because he's hungry. Then the snows melted. The earth warmed up in the spring sun, and things budded. That means that the flowers started to bloom and open up. Leaves were on the trees again. Flowers showed their young faces. And so look, here's what things look like in springtime. And look, there's Sylvester as a rock. I wonder, will he ever become a donkey again? What do you think? I just hope someone finds the pebble and then somehow wishes for Sylvester. One day in May, Mr. Duncan insisted that his wife go with him on a picnic. I like picnics. When you take food to the park, have you ever been on a picnic? Let's cheer up, he said. Let us try to live again and be happy, even though Sylvester, our angel, is no longer with us. They went to Strawberry Hill. And look, they are going to Strawberry Hill. Do you know what's on Strawberry Hill? Well, that's where Sylvester is. Well, the rock that is Sylvester. Mrs. Duncan sat down on the rock. The warmth of his own mother sitting on him woke Sylvester up from his deep winter sleep. How he wanted to shout, "Mother! Father! It's me, Sylvester! I'm right here!" But he couldn't talk. He had no voice. He was stone dumb. Oh no, he just means that he was a rock, and rocks can't talk. Oh man, I wonder if his parents are going to find the magic pebble. What do you think? Do you see the pebble? If you look really, really close, you can see it. Do you think Sylvester's parents will find the pebble? Mr. Duncan walked aimlessly about while Mrs. Duncan set out the picnic food on the rock. Alfalfa sandwiches, pickled oats, sassafras salad. Timothy compote? I don't know what that is, but it probably is delicious for animals. Suddenly, Mr. Duncan saw the red pebble. "What a fantastic pebble!" he exclaimed. Sylvester would have loved it for his collection. He put the pebble on the rock. Oh, wow! He put the pebble on the rock! I wonder, does Sylvester know that the pebble is on the rock? They sat down to eat. Sylvester was now as wide awake as a donkey that was a rock could possibly be. Mrs. Duncan felt something mysterious excitement. You know, Father, she said suddenly, I have the strangest feeling that our dear Sylvester is still alive and not far away. I am. Sylvester wanted to shout, but he couldn't. If only he had realized that the pebble resting on his back was a magic pebble. So the magic pebble is on Sylvester right now. I hope that he wishes. And look, here's his father picking up the pebble, and here's his mother and father having their picnic on top of Sylvester, who's a rock. I hope that Sylvester wishes he was a donkey again. Oh, how I wish he were here with us on this lovely May day, Miss Duncan, said Miss Duncan. Mr. Duncan looked sadly at the ground. Don't you wish it too, Father? She said. He looked at her as if to say, how can you ask such a question? Mr. and Mrs. Duncan looked at each other with great sorrow. I wish I were myself again. I wish I were my real self again, thought Sylvester. And in less than an instant, he was. Whoa, look. All of their food and everything came crashing down. But I don't think that his parents really cared about the food. I'm sure they were just super duper happy to have their Sylvester back. You can imagine the scene that followed. The embraces, the kisses, and the questions and the answers. The loving looks and the fond exclamations. And look, here's Sylvester hugging his mom and dad because he's so happy to be back with them again. Wow. That makes me feel really happy. I'm really glad that Sylvester is a donkey again. When they had eventually calmed down a bit and had gotten home, Mr. Duncan put the magic pebble in an iron safe. Someday they might want to use it, but really for now, what more could they wish for? They all had all they wanted. The end. And what did they want? They just wanted to be together again as a family. Well, thank you so much for listening to Sylvester and the Magic Pebble. This is Barbershop Books Storytime, and if you would like to learn more about Barbershop Books, you can visit our website at barbershopbooks.org. You can also connect with us on social media at Barbershop Books. Well, until next time, bye.